Hey guys, welcome back to my channel here. It's Lavender here, and today I'm back with a new anti-capitalism video themed topic I want to talk about today. Today I want to talk about why aquariums and zoos are good and beneficial, and an anti-capitalism perspective on this, and why I support them and support zoos as a whole, etc. Deep dive into this topic. So let's get started into this video. So disclaimer, don't get me wrong, there are some zoos I don't support. Like, for example, I don't really support the Australian Zoo anymore because after finding out the true colors of the owners, Terry Irwin is a narcissist, vile human being, and so is Bindi Irwin. She went on a rant and attacked Bob Irwin on Father's Day, the man who started and made the zoo that it is as a whole. Most of the ex-employees who worked at the zoo defended Bob Irwin against the attacks of Terry and Bindi Irwin's claims. This family only seems to care about money and fame now. I mean, if you watch the TV show Craig Hates the Irwins, they only talk about the Irwins mostly, not the actual employees who do most of the work at the zoo as a whole. The whole family seems fake as fuck and not genuine at all. They only seem to really care about fame and money. So that's just that. So before we start this video, I just want to point out that this video, again, is just my viewpoint as an anti-capitalist, Marxist-Leninist activist, and my reasons for supporting the zoos as a whole and their work that they do, the science work they do, etc. Also, I have made more videos on animal topics, anti-capitalism animal topics as well, if you want to check those videos out. So why do I support zoos? I'm going to list my reasons in no particular order. So here we go, let's get started. So zoos unite and educate the people of the world, all over the world, worldwide, providing an understanding of the interdependence of animals and their habitats, and conduct conservation programs of animals in the wild, including breeding programs to reintroduce extinct or almost extinct and endangered species and animals back into their natural environment and habitat. They also use lots of science in their day-to-day, activities as well. The latest Living Planet report from the WWF, a 60% decline in wild animal populations since 1970, collapsing ecosystems, and a distinct possibility that the human species and the human race will not be far behind as in extinction. When 83% of the world's freshwater ecosystems are collapsing and failing, capitalism is the #1 cause of this, along with Western imperialism. To reverse species extinction trends, it is essential to change human behavior and educate people on how capitalism is evil and how bad capitalism is for the earth overall and as a whole. Because capitalism, again, puts profits over lives, any type of life, the earth's lives, animal lives, human lives, etc., all while making every effort to reduce biodiversity loss, because capitalism kills biodiversity, as you guys all know. Some of these awesome, amazing sciences at zoos are breeding programs, conservation, education of public, and studying genetics. Examples of these would be species survival plans are utilized across Association of Zoos and Aquariums, accredited institutions to genetically manage populations of animals by maintaining genetic records on animals in human care, and developing cooperative breeding and transfer programs. Zoo scientists are ensuring the longevity and genetic health of zoo animal populations. The IUCN Red List consists of data that have undergone an extinction examination risk assessment. This extensive IUCN initiative evaluates the conservation status of plant and animal species worldwide. According to the assessment of the status of vertebrates, captive breeding programs help 13 out of 68 species reduce their IUCN Red List level threat levels. 13 species whose Red List conservation status was improved were animals such as the European bison, golden lion tamarin, pink pigeon, Marctus kestrel, greater stick nest rat, Moluccan midwife toad, Praski's horse, the California condor, and the black-footed ferret have been animals that have been helped by this program. The ARC concept has returned as a conservation tool, which is especially timely given the alarming rates and decreases in amphibian populations whereby species of frogs, toads, and salamanders are vanishing across the planet, and the whole group is considered at extremely high risk globally. Pollution, habitat degradation, global warming, climate change, commercial overexploitation, etc. The IUCN estimates that 1/3 or more of the 6,338 described amphibian species are threatened with extinction as a whole group. Global amphibian assessment indicates that hundreds of species face threats that cannot be mitigated in the wild. Therefore, zoos and other institutions that specialize in animals play a key role in maintaining captive populations for future reintroduction into the wild. Mammals have the highest representation in zoos, with 24% of the world's vulnerable, endangered, and critically endangered mammal species, respectively, although birds account for 1/4 of all known species. Although zoos devote more space to threatened species than they did 20 years ago, the number of threatened species worldwide has also increased substantially, easily outpacing the response of the zoo community in the extinction crisis caused by capitalism. This situation is especially true for amphibians, whose number of species listed as threatened increased by 3,300%. Moreover, individual zoos need to focus on only particular species for conservation rather than trying to hold as many threatened species in their collections as possible. The reason is that captive breeding has been more successful in institutions that have specialized on a few species and breeding a few species as a whole. The role of zoos in curtailing illegal trade in wild species around the world and around this earth. The international wildlife trade is worth billions of dollars. In the European alone, it is estimated that the illegal trade was worth £93 billion in 2005, and it increased to approximately £100 billion in 2009. And in the United States, it was estimated to be worth over USD $323 billion in 2009. The trade includes selling live animals as pets or marketing products that are made from wild species as a whole. Although many trade wildlife species are not endangered per se, agreements are important to ensure properly management of and welfare of these species and animals. The convention of international trade in endangered species of wild fungi and flora, which was necessarily anticipated in budgets or strategic collections planning. Receiving confiscated animals allows zoos and helps authorities to monitor the animal trade of the world. Zoos can be key sources of information to monitor the animal trade, since they receive animals from both governmental authorities and local people who live in the area. Although zoos are not designed to be rescue centers, many times they're the only option for housing confiscated, wild animals, especially in the case of species that need specialized facilities with highly trained workers and personnel. Zoos as an educating institutions. Approximately 700 million people a year visit a zoo in a year, which is roughly 10% of the whole world's population. Educational programs offered by zoos are diverse. These programs can be divided into major types: formal education and informal education. Zoos attract people from all over the world, reaching all cultural backgrounds through outreach, resources, and funding. Especially in their capacity as a global network, zoos have the ability to make a substantial impact in reversing extinction trends. Some zoos partner with universities to deliver specific courses on species management and conservation and wildlife conservation, and some universities conduct research projects in zoos. Other zoos host summer camps in which they educate students in fieldwork, captive breeding, and general conservation wildlife issues. As animal trade disappears in the absence of a market, some zoos have taken the responsibility of educating the public about the species trade and its impacts as a whole on the ecosystems. One example is the educational program organized by the Barranquilla Zoo in Colombia, which hopes to reduce the pet trade, the second major threat affecting Colombian birds after deforestation. During this workshop, students learn how to trade reduces species populations. They also learn about behavioral and physical problems of parrots that parrots can face due to poor or inadequate care. The EAZA annual conservation campaigns illustrate zoos' different roles in reducing animal trade. The first campaign was launched in 2001, addressed the unsustainable illegal hunting and trade of threatened wildlife, in particular the great apes and the ape species as a whole, since the great apes, just like humans, have a very low reproductive rate since they grow like slow and age really slow. The impact of exploitation such as hunting or the capture of individuals for the pet market can put at risk the survival of entire animal populations as a whole. As institutions, zoos have an impressive outreach record and can educate the public on the effects of the wildlife trade. Zoos as educational and research centers. Some critics insist that zoos give the wrong message to the public by showcasing animals in exhibits and exhibiting animals outside their natural habitat, arguing that documentary films can be much more informative and educational about species ecology, behavior, and conservation. Although documentaries play a key role in reducing the public, modern zoos are cultural centers that can act as an open windows to nature, plus because zoos manage animals are widely involved in wildlife conservation programs across the globe, they constitute important centers for research. Here are some more scientific reasons why, zoos are beneficial to the world. Zoos actually have a monitoring behavior. This is when someone, like a zoo employee or a zoo scientist who works at the zoo, is filming animals that are on exhibit or on a tablet or device. With that, the zoo's research scientists are always collecting data to better understand the animals, monitor the effects of the changes to their routines, and make recommendations for improving their care. Capturing video helps the scientists look for patterns and a record enrichment activities. This data collection informs the recommendations on diet enrichment and overall health. Another one, cognitive studies, like brain studies. Zoo researchers and keepers integrate cognitive studies and enrichment programs into everyday care of animals. This important enrichment helps to ensure that animals are practicing natural behaviors and provides opportunity to learn about and stimulate complex cognitive brain processes of these animals. And last but not least, building capacity. One of the primary goals of any zoo is the future for wildlife programs is building a capacity for conservation work around the world. Conservation capacity building means helping to strengthen the knowledge, skills, and tools of individuals and communities in an area to improve their ability to effectively carry out conservation activities around the world. If you guys like this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye guys, see you next video.